What this is a longer, informal show and tell about basic strength training and basic weightlifting, sort of with a focus for martial arts, but in general as well. Because I've got a friend, hi there, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention your name, so I'm not going to, who wanted to know about basic strength training. They'd never done it before. So this isn't going to be an exhaustive everything you ever needed to know about weight training. That would be hours and hours and hours. And honestly, I've been doing it a long time, but I haven't devoted my life to studying it. I know it works for me. And so I'm going to share some things that are pretty incontrovertible, and hopefully some of it works for you. And if it gives you that push, if it gets you going, then that's great. And I'm also going to try and share some stuff in general that'll be useful to other people, because I might make this public later on. So if you're already doing CrossFit, if you're already halfway to being ready for Mr. Olympia, if you're already doing a complex bodybuilding weight training thing, if you're already doing sport-specific conditioning for MMA, this might not be as focused for you, as targeted for you as it could be. That's because it's not. This is for the beginner. We'll tackle it in 3 parts. Number 1, the reasons that you would even want to lift weights, and aren't you, how long is it going to take you to get big, huge, and swole? Or are you scared of getting big, huge, and swole? Number 2, the main exercises that you should be doing. Number 3, how to design a program. What you should actually be doing, how often you should be going to the gym, what you should be doing when you're there. So let's start with number 1. So there's sort of 3 broad categories of why you might lift weights. Number 1 is to get huge. Every teenage boy's dream is to be gigantic. I went through it because I'm immature. I went through it a little bit later. I went through it in my late 20s. My goal was to get to 240 pounds with abs. I didn't quite make it. Made it to 228 with abs, and then I gave up because of the eating. Again, I'll talk about that later. Number 2 is to get strong. Getting strong is not necessarily the same thing as getting big. They're related, but they're not the same thing. And number 3 is for staying functional, for not getting injured, for coming back from injuries, for continuing to be active when you're old and weak and broken. So let's start with getting big. Like I said, every teenage boy wants to get big. They want to get swole. They want to go down to the pump shack and get yoked. There, that's my shout out to all the kids watching. Of course, none of them are. I look at my YouTube demographics. So getting big, yes, you have to lift weights. But the main thing actually is eating. The main thing is cleaning up your diet and eating really frequently, really often, not eating crap, eating a ton of protein. And then actually, if you want to get really big, you want to get anywhere near as big as the pictures of bodybuilders you see, you pretty much have to take steroids and growth hormone and insulin. And that's really dangerous shit. And that's not what I'm going to talk about today at all, because that is taking it to the next level, right? And take a look at the number of MMA fighters who get busted, who don't look like they're on steroids. Take a look at the Tour de France cyclists who get busted, who don't look like they're on steroids. And if you don't think that there's an epidemic of that going on, then, I've got a bridge to sell you and some land in Panama. That's a fantastic deal, and I want it all in Bitcoin. So, getting big involves lifting heavy, eating a ton, and eating a ton of protein. And this is actually why I gave up. Because to get to 228, to take my weight from about 208 to 228, so 20 pounds of muscle, that took about a year. I just got sick and tired of the eating. Because I had to, get up, have a protein shake. Then I'd have breakfast with my girlfriend, and make sure there was some protein in it. In the mid-morning, I'd have another protein shake. For lunch, I would cook a cup of dry rice, can of tuna on the rice, hot sauce, eat that. Mid-afternoon, eat again. Dinner, eat again. Often before going to bed, I'd have a protein bar or something, or some eggs. It was totally tiring. The eating was the worst part of getting big, and finally, it's like, screw it, it's not worth it. Also, I noticed my jiu-jitsu was actually suffering the bigger I got. That's because my cardio was beginning to get worse. Because all things being equal, as you get bigger, your cardio is going to go downhill, right? You got more muscle mass to carry around. The second big reason to weight train is to get stronger, because all of the things being equal, the stronger you get, the more functional you are in your sport, in your life. The better looking you are, because your muscles are at a higher state of tension, or at a higher state of excitation. So instead of having a flabby arm, you have a nicely rounded arm. strength and size go together, but not perfectly. I mentioned earlier the Tour de France guys, they're like 120 pounds, 130 pounds, 140 pounds. They're trying to get not only as much endurance as they can, but they're also trying to be strong. So strength can be achieved, very, very broadly speaking, a couple of different ways. Number one, you can get bigger. If your muscle gets bigger, it can probably push more weight. That makes sense. The other way of thinking about it is you can get stronger by getting your more fibers in the muscle to fire at the same time. So all these stories of women lifting cars off their children, or even another example I heard of the other day. If I go over to that electrical socket and stick my finger in that electrical socket, I'll get thrown across the room. What's throwing me across the room? It's not the electricity. It's the electricity causing all my muscles to fire at the same time. So instead of 20% of the muscles of my biceps, 30%, it's 100% of the muscle fibers going, contract. And I throw myself across the room. So you can get stronger without getting bigger. And the third reason is to stay functional. This is applicable to athletes, to people training for a sport. If you do the weight training, it can be a prehab thing. It can hold your body together and allow you to train harder, allow you to train longer without breaking down and missing time from your sport, regardless of whether that's cycling, jiu-jitsu, skiing, even going for walks. Like if you're old, doing some basic strength training will allow you to do other things. I mean, the example, I think it comes from CrossFit, I'm not sure, that if you're doing deadlifts as a young person, as a young man, as a young woman, and doing deadlifts as a middle-aged man and a middle-aged woman, then reaching down, picking up your groceries from the floor when you're 80 years old, hopefully you've kept some of that deadlifting strength. If we're pressing things up, above your head, military press, as a young man, as a middle-aged man, then maybe reaching up and lifting down your jar of pennies from the top shelf when you're 80, 85 years old won't seem like this big daunting thing because you were used to holding heavy objects above your head when you were young. So that's prehab. Also, after you have an injury, and here you really should talk to your physiotherapist or your doctor, but typically 80% of the time I'll go, if you injure your elbow, then after the injury heals, the stronger you make your elbow, the less likely you are to injure it again. If you injure your shoulder, if you do, once the inflammation and once the initial damage goes down and you maybe have surgery, hopefully not, and you start working with those resistance bands, what are you doing? You're strengthening the little muscles that hold everything in place. I've had neck issues from years of doing grappling and years of trying to fight my way out of neck cranks and being thrown on my head and all kinds of stupidity. And the more gentle to moderate neck strengthening that I do, the better my neck feels. The stronger the muscles are around the spine, then the less the whole thing hurts. Now, individual results may vary, and bottom line is if you have an injured shoulder and you start doing your rotator cuff exercise trying to make it stronger, and your shoulder gets worse instead of better, then stop, go consult a professional. So the whole area of injury rehabilitation, that's not the point of this video, but it's just a point that I'm making that there's more than one reason to lift weights. So the next topic that I want to talk about are the exercises themselves, the basic exercises that pretty much everybody's beginner exercise program should be based on. And then after that, we'll go into the exercise design of what sequence you should do this in and what order and what you should actually be doing. So there are thousands of exercises that you can do. Honestly, there are personal trainers whose whole business is based around taking a basic fundamental motion, the bench press, the push, and now you're going to do it with one dumbbell on a Swiss ball, with your feet on a stability board, with your eyes closed, and this way you're working your alphabet salad of systems, right? You're working your neuroendocrinological, proprioceptive, blah, 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 blah function. And that may or may not be valid. But the bottom line is you're pushing something away from you. So your basic exercises are pushing something away from you, pulling something towards yourself, and working your legs. So most of my workouts involve pushing something away from me, pulling something towards me, working my legs, and then doing a couple bonus exercises for rehab, for vanity, that kind of thing. So, pushing. The classic exercise, I should have loaded this up. My kid was bench pressing here last, so this is good. It's gonna make me look like I could do them forever. The classic exercise for pushing is the bench press, but it doesn't have to be a bench press. The push-up, we're here. Hands out, back straight, head up, not down, not sagging, not sagging. Here, coming down to your chin, just an inch or two above the ground, and then back up. That is pushing something away from me, regardless of whether I'm doing a wide grip, a narrow grip, or rather a narrow hand position, regular hand position, staggered, clapping, 1,000 variations. A push-up is a push. Bench press. Oh, okay, let me just get in the mindset here. Oh, good. So, with my hands roughly shoulder width apart, and there are reasons that you would put your hands close together. There are reasons that you would put your hands further apart. You bring the bar down to your chest and you push up. Typically, you can either touch the bar to your chest, but if that hurts your shoulders, bring it down so that your upper arm is parallel to the ground. It's hard for me to point when I've got this here. If this is all right for your shoulders, you bring it down to your chest and you push back up. If that hurts your shoulders, bring it down to your upper arms are roughly parallel to the floor and then push up. Be aware that this exercise can really hurt you. There's only about 65 pounds on this. If I let go and that lands on my face, it's a really bad day for me and a good day for the dentist. So that's why you have these bars here. So either do this, especially when you're starting, with a friend standing here, basically his balls on your head, and making sure you don't drop the bar on your face, or do it with some kind of safety bar here, set above the level of your face. Also, use your thumbs. This will stop it from rolling off. Here. Some people bench press like this, with this kind of false grip type of thing. I don't like it at all, because if you start losing it, you're going to drop it. And even if you got the bars in place, that's embarrassing. So I like grabbing it with all 5 fingers, or thumb on one side, fingers on the other. Bring it down in a straight line, and then up. When you're done, you're going to move your hands backwards here, and then down. Don't try to find this catch here. Don't try and do this. Like I can do it here, that's easy, because this weight is very light. When this weight gets heavier, when you're closer to your limit, after you're pushing, you're tired now, bring it back to the bar, or back to the upright, and then bring it down here. Okay, so, and also, regardless of what it is that you're doing, if you don't know what you're doing, go to the local gym rat, go to the people at the desk, say, hey, I'm supposed to do this bench press exercise. I don't know how to do the bench press exercise. Can you show me? You may get bad information, of course, it's true of anything, but most gym rats will only be too pleased to show off how knowledgeable they are. They've got the skill they've been working on for years, and nobody's ever asked them. And now you're coming and you're asking them. Most of the time they're thrilled. So we're doing push-ups, we're doing barbell, bench press of the barbell. That's when it's one big bar. You can also do the same exercise with dumbbells here. So I generally put them on my thighs here, especially when it starts getting heavier. Then as I go back, I throw it up with my legs. I bring it in, it's like I'm punching, right? My fist is in a punching position. From here, I'm gonna push up. And typically, I'm not doing it these days, I would turn it so the weights are here, so my fist is down.
My elbow's bugging me a little bit right now, so I actually am preferring to do it in a hammer position here. But when my elbow's feeling fine, I twist it as I'm coming up. You will be able to do more with the barbell than you will with the dumbbells, right? If you do the math, let's pretend that, well, this is 60 pounds. If I can do 60 pounds with a barbell, I won't be able to do two 30-pound dumbbells. That's because they're less stable, right? The barbell is connected. I don't have to worry about stabilizing it in and out, and the rotational stabilization is easier because I've got two hands on it. With a dumbbell, they can move all over the place. So if I do 60 pounds here, I might only be able to do 20 or 25 with the dumbbells, if that makes sense. Another great pushing exercise is the dip. You need to be a little bit stronger to do a dip. It does take more body weight, it does take more strength because you're going against your body weight. You can do it, see these bars taper out? You can do it this way or this way. I normally like to load up my rack here. Most of the racks that you find in gyms are latched to the floor. This is a home one. I didn't spend $4,000 to get the full one, and I haven't mounted in the floor yet. So I'm gonna grip really close here because I don't want the whole thing to tip. So you're gonna go up, arms straight, down till your arms are about 90 degrees, and then up. So here, here. If you go really super deep like this, with your shoulders all the way down to your thumbs, that can be a lot of strain on your shoulders. So that's a little bit harder, and you don't have as much ability to modify the weight based on your ability at the time. So that's pushing. Pulling. You want to pull stuff towards you. Right? I mean, this is starting a chainsaw, starting a lawnmower, choking someone in jiu-jitsu. Well, not tug of war, but you are pulling this way. Tug of war, mostly legs. Trying to pull someone out of a lake, right? Pulling is an important human motion. The best exercise for pulling are pull-ups. Now, let's say you're just starting out and you're super weak and you can't get anywhere near a pull-up. We'll cover how to get started with pull-ups in a minute. I don't have one, but there are cable row machines at the gym, right? Where you have a stack of weights, you move the pin to the right distance, put the right handle on the cable, and you pull this way or you pull down. So that might be a good way to start. Another thing you can do if you don't have the ability to do pull-ups yet are rows, right? If you go to a bench, like the same bench that you use for bench pressing, put your knee on it, put your hand on it, hang the weight here, and pull this up to your hip. But the granddaddy of pulling is the pull-up. It really is. You can do them anywhere. You can almost always find a place to do pull-ups. Yes, I know this should actually be going up, but my ceiling's too low to do it here. So I've got this down. It cuts down a little bit on my ability to hang, but that's okay. So, pull-ups. There are pull-ups, there are chin-ups. People get confused. I just say pull-ups with 3 different grips, like this, and like this. Which one should you do? Yes. Unless there's a super specific reason, a super specific body part that you're targeting, you should do your pull-ups like this, and like this. Pull-ups, chin-ups, parallel grip pull-ups. Because it targets slightly different parts of your arms. So you're gonna grab, you're gonna hang here, and then you're just gonna pull your chin up above the bar and down. And pull your chin up above the bar and down. Now, if you've watched too many CrossFit videos, there are a million ways to do pull-ups. There are butterfly pull-ups. There are kipping pull-ups where people are doing it with their whole body. It's a totally different application. And if you can't do regular pull-ups, you've got no business doing any kind of kipping pull-up. So start with that super simple standard pull-up. Now, how do you do it if you're not strong enough to actually pull yourself up?
you can a little bit cheat with your legs. I don't know if the camera can see it, but I can swing and kick my legs a little bit as I'm here. I'm really tired. Oh, there. So you could do a set of pull-ups, and then as you're getting tired towards the end, you could add a little bit of a kick. That can sometimes help you. Shouldn't be your go-to, but if you're right on the edge of doing a pull-up or not, you can cheat a little bit. But the best way, and what I've done with people who said, I can't do pull-ups, is doing this, right? They're gonna go, get a pull-up grip, they go up, and they're gonna hold it. They're just gonna hold it here. And then they're gonna fight it all the way down. Fight. Rest for a second, and then go back up. So you can either jump up, you can step on something, go up, hold it in this position, hang, and then keep on fighting as you go down. Keep on fighting. Then typically, your arms give up. If you do negatives, those are called negatives. If you do negative pull-ups for probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks, if you do, let's say, about 5 negative pull-ups a day, 5 to 10 negative pull-ups a day, and you can give a pretty good fight, then go try going down and pulling up, and you will probably surprise yourself. Pull-ups is something that typically guys are better at than girls, but there are lots of girls who can do them. And there's nothing sexier than a girl who can do pull-ups. So if you're a girl and you're watching this, work on your pull-ups and you'll impress the right kind of guy at the gym. Final major exercise. Okay, we'll leave this bench out. I'll stay in here in my little cage. For legs. Now there are all kinds of different leg exercises. There are lunges, there are weighted lunges. I really only want to talk about the squat today because it's so foundational. It's so fundamental. Pretty much you can make an argument that all whole body and lower body exercises are based on the squat. Doesn't matter, it's a philosophical point. You got to squat. So, basic way, feet shoulder width apart, right? I'm going to squat down. How far do I go? I can squat down. There are a couple different distances. Minimum depth is knees roughly at a 90-degree angle. More commonly, thighs parallel to the ground. Some people do them all the way down. And then back up. So you see people doing squats at the gym, and they're doing this. I suppose it's better than doing nothing. But you could do this for an hour and not get as much benefit as doing real squats for a couple of minutes. So, you're not riding an imaginary horse, you're doing squats. At the very least, go down till there's a 90-degree bend in the leg. You gotta check in a mirror. Ideally, go down until your thighs are parallel to the ground, and then back up. If you're doing a more sport-specific thing, CrossFit maybe, Olympic lifting, you're gonna go all the way down till your ass touches your heels. I'm of two minds about that, so I would suggest just parallel. Where do you put your hands? Doesn't really matter. You can put them behind your head, like this. So you squat here. The thing you want to avoid here is pulling your neck down, looking down before, doing this. This is not a squat, really. It's breaking your posture, putting pressure on your neck. So if you do this, be proud, stick your chest out, show off those pecs or whatever. And here, go down and up. Or you can just have your hands here. I like this, kind of combative, makes me feel badass. Here, go down till my hands, or sorry, my elbows touch my thighs, and then come back up, like this. Incidentally, this is also great posture for jiu-jitsu, because you're making a wall here along the side of your body. Some people do it with an arm swing touching the ground. That's also okay, because unless they've got crazy long arms, in order to touch the ground, that thigh is now parallel, right? So my favorite method, hands up like you're fighting. So hands near the face, Home Alone, or the Scream, ah. Here, go down till my elbows touch my thighs and back up. So that's the squat without weight.
You can do it with a dumbbell on each side, or, because it's so important, we'll just quickly load up the bar here. Now the squat, you can really hurt yourself with. So I would really recommend that if you, like you can watch this all you want, watch it many times, put it on loop. But the reality is that you really should have somebody checking your form. I'll try and go over some of these big errors that you can have, that you can make when you're doing the squat. But really this is, there is potential here to hurt yourself, but it's such an important motion. I hope those are the same height. I really should mark them. Yes, awesome, it's level. I'm not going to go to crazy weight, so this bar should be a little bit higher as well. Just like the bar in the bench press is to stop you from smashing your face or your sternum with the bar, these bars are here. If I put on too much weight or I lose my balance, I'm going here and I start falling, I can just drop down and have this bar rescue me as opposed to being driven into the ground by this bar. I know a guy who once lost the bar. I think he had 700 pounds on his back, and ended up rolling over his neck like that. Really not a good day. I think it was the last time he squatted really heavy. It's a kind of interesting way to do deep tissue on the back of your neck. So not recommended. But really, if you can only work on one exercise in the gym, this would be it. If you're doing a heavy squat, because you're working such big body parts, you're working your thighs, you're working your glutes, you're working your hamstrings, you're working your back, because it activates so many of your big muscles, you get a good dump of hormones. Those hormones are generally feel-good hormones. It's usually stuff like testosterone. If I've ever been down, I'm not down very often, but if I'm ever feeling really crappy and I just blast myself with heavy squats, almost always I feel better. Even if I'm really tired, if I get angry and I get motivated and I get my focus, then I come in, I do some squats, almost always I feel better. I'm almost always a bit hungrier too, which shows that I really did burn a lot of calories, that there's a big hormonal release. Incidentally, all the girls I've ever dated who started doing squats or even leg presses, which is a machine that you would have in the gym, well, it would be indelicate of me to say what my benefits were, but why don't you Google testosterone and female sex drive, because it was immediately noticeable, the results of doing squats. So gentlemen, encourage your ladies to do squats. All right, so I'll put a bit of weight on that bar. And once again, this isn't the exhaustive guide to squats. And it can't be, because I would really need to be there beside you to make sure that you're not screwing it up. But at least this way, if I've done this video, then somebody says, hey, dude, you're totally, I don't know, your knees aren't tracking properly, then you'll at least have heard this before. So, I'm going to show you the mistakes, the common mistakes facing this way, then I'll do the weights facing away from you. So, common mistake number one is your knees wobbling in and out. Like if you squat down and I'm going to totally over-exaggerate, your knees go in, and then this is not some kind of old disco move. This is not stretching out your knees in exercise class. The knees stay over the toes. They go this way, they go that way. There are also different kinds of squats where you're going more back, and it's hard to do without weight here. But your knees aren't going out and then in as you go up. Although some powerlifters, when they're going for their maximum weight, you'll see them do that a little bit. They're taking a calculated risk, right? If you've been training your whole life for a competition, you know how to break the rules a little bit. Just day-to-day training, don't break the rules. So your knees go over your toes. They don't go in or out. You've got to watch that in the mirror, or you've got to have somebody give you a brutal critique. Probably the most important thing with squats is if you're going down and then you come back up, your head leaves. If you go down, this is the mistake. Here, here. Down, ass up, back up. If you do that, even one time, your set's over. I'll talk about what sets are later. You're done with squats, take a break. Because if you start doing this, then you're lifting with your back. And there are right and wrong ways to lift with your back. This is the wrong way. Also, let's really tighten this up. You see how I've got a little arch in my back, or my back is flat here? I want to avoid having a rounded back. I don't want to do this. If I'm putting a load on my back and it's rounded forward, that's really bad. So most people need to stick their ass out a little bit like this and have a slight curve in their lower back and keep that the whole time that they do it. I noticed the other day when I was doing a new type of squat, an overhead squat, is just to show that I'm vulnerable to the same mistakes. As I was going all the way down, I was doing this kind of butt winking, twerking as I was going up. I filmed it. It was terrible. I was twerking under load. Don't twerk. Keep that ass sticking out just a little bit. Keep a little bit of, it's called lordosis in your back, and keep everything tight. Okay, so now with the bar. My hands are gonna go fairly wide. They're not gonna go all the way here, because when I walk back in, I don't wanna mash my fingers in here. So I'm gonna have them, a couple inches in from the cage or the rack. Here, come underneath. I'm really going to shrug my shoulders back. Shrugging my shoulders back creates a ledge on the top of the shoulder blades. If this really hurts your neck, most gyms have got some kind of padding you can put on the bar. As you get better at positioning and you get slightly more muscular in your upper back, you'll need this less or not at all. So I'll show you once with this. Basically your neck goes in here, my hands go wide here. I'm going to pull my elbows and my shoulder blades back. And if I hunch forward, there's nothing for that bar to sit on. Man, do I hate that rubber. I don't like this at all. I'm not going to use it, but lots of people do. Okay, I removed the dip bar so you can actually see what's going on. I grab, not too wide. I don't want to mash my fingers against the cage. Step in, shrug my shoulders back. You can get my feet here, please, Juan, or my feet and legs. What I'm going to do is step back 1 foot, step back another foot. So it's 2 steps. Adjust my feet until they're shoulder width apart. Now I'm going to keep at least looking forward, if not looking up. Squat down, squat up. Squat down, squat up. When I'm done my set, again, I don't try and position the bar on those hooks. I'm going to walk forward until the barbell hits the cage, and then I'm slowly going to lower down. I don't try and position it. I just walk forward, boom, till it hits, and then drop it. Just trying to think I'm sure I'm missing some points, but that's enough to get you started. Don't start with heavy weight. Start with a bar. Start with 10 pounds a side. If you can walk with a backpack that weighs 50 pounds, the bar and a couple of 10-pound plates, that's 60 pounds or 65 pounds. So, you can do a few knee bends and it's not going to kill you, and you'll start learning the mistakes that you do. Again, remember, if you go down and your ass comes up, you're done. If you start rounding your back this way, you're done. If your knees start tracking in and out like this, stop it. The other big exercise that a lot of people like doing, I don't do it as much, are deadlifts. So a squat, you're lifting the weight on your shoulders here and here. A deadlift, you're lifting the weight here. You're going to hold it in front of you. Now, there are different kinds of deadlifts. Stiff-legged deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, J-curl deadlifts, straight bar deadlifts, which are the most common with a bar. If you imagine it sitting in front of you here. And I've played with it. I've never enjoyed doing them as much as squats, so it's not been my focus. It's a good argument, which is more sport specific. Squats versus deadlifts, deadlifts versus squats. This argument's gonna go on forever. Most people say do them both. Here's my workaround. This is what's called a hex bar deadlift. I don't know if your gym has one. If it does, fantastic. You can reach down. Again, my feet roughly shoulder width here, grabbing in the middle. Squat down, and I'm gonna do all the same. I'm gonna not do all the same things that I'm not supposed to do on the squat. I shouldn't round my back. I shouldn't lift with my back first. My knees shouldn't be doing any kind of disco move. And we're here, and up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down. If you don't have this bar, and you want to do deadlifts, you want to do straight bar deadlifts, find somebody at the gym to teach you deadlifts. Back positioning, really important. One hand's gonna be like this. It's gonna be like holding a baseball bat so it doesn't roll out of your fingers. And you've got the choice of doing wide deadlifts or narrow deadlifts. Basically, arms outside your legs here, or legs wide and arms inside your legs. So lots of information out there on deadlifts. Go check that out. So, basic 3 exercises. I'll talk about some of the auxiliary exercises I do at the end of the programming section, which is right now. So, you go. This is a long video, eh? I wonder if anyone's still watching it. If you are, if you made it this far, let me know in the comments for sure if I make this public. All right, so you go to the gym, you get changed. First thing you want to do is get warmed up. What does getting warmed up mean? If you like running on a treadmill, go run on a treadmill. I've got this machine here, my Airdyne bike. I'm not gonna, right? I'm gonna not put my. If you don't have that, you know, jumping jacks, running on the spot, some light push-ups. Get the blood moving. You don't want to go cold. You don't want to go to the gym completely cold, stiff, start lifting, and pop. That's bad. So always warm up. I think cardio is important, so I try to do a minimum of 10 minutes. And I know that the more cardio I do, the less strong I'll be. If I just go do a minute jumping jacks, I'll be able to squat more than if I go hard on the Stairmaster for 20 minutes. My legs will be more tired. I won't be able to squat as much. And that's okay. It depends what your priorities are. My priority is not to be a power lifter. So start with a warm-up. Get sweaty. You should be a little bit sweaty, should be a little bit out of breath. Okay, number 1, that's done. Number 2, you're going to do some type of legs. Let's assume it's the squat. So you're gonna go, and you're still not that warmed up. Squat's a technical motion. You can put probably just a bar if you're starting out. Well, I usually use a bar and a 45-pound plate. That's a 35-pound plate. And I just go through one set. Just trying to make sure my form is all right. Just trying to wake up my legs, trying to wake up my body. And I'm gonna do that for probably 12 to 20 reps. I shouldn't be totally exhausted. I should have a nice little burn. I'm gonna go for a higher number of repetitions. So that one set, which means continuous exercise. So one set would be 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 rep, 4 rep, 15 rep, 16 rep, 20 reps. Stop, that's one set. So one set of kind of 12 to 20 reps just to wake my body up. Then I'm gonna do 2 or 3 working sets. Working means you've actually got some decent weight on there and it's harder. A working set, again, there's so many different ways of doing this, is 8 to 12 repetitions. So basically you can take whatever weight you can do. Right now, 35, 70, 45 pounds, 70 plus 4, 115 pounds. You're 115 pounds on this bar. Let's say that's all I can do for 8 reps. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna do 8 reps, put it back, sit down, just rest. Rest for a minute, rest for 2 minutes, rest until my legs feel a bit better. They don't have to be fully better, but better. Back up,
Another 8 reps. Put it away, sit down, rest a minute, rest 2 minutes. All right, let's go. Maybe I only get 7 reps on the last set. Okay, that's all right. Still kind of in the 8 to 12 range, and I strained my legs, right? I made them work. Okay, then I go on, and depending what's worse for me, let's say I suck at pull-ups, and most people's pull-ups are worse than their bench press. Depending on what I'm worse at and what my priority is, the next thing I'm going to do is either pushing or pulling. Today, I would say I'm going to do pulling. So here, I'm probably already warmed up. I've done the cardio, I've done the squats, so I can probably get away with going directly into a working set. So I'm going to do 3 sets of pull-ups. I'm going to hold my hands here. 1 with my hands away from me, 1 with my hands like this, 1 with my hands facing me, right? Now, maybe I'm just starting. Maybe all I can do is 3 pull-ups, right? Here, 1, 2, 3. Oh God, I can't do anymore. That's okay. You're constrained by your strength to body weight ratio. All right, so you're gonna rest, shake your arms out, wait a minute and a half. All right, go back in. I typically go from hands away from me to hands facing me. So I'll do it here. 1. I could only do 2. That's okay. You're gonna get better. Next week you'll be able to do more. Next month you'll be able to do more. For most people, their strongest hand position is parallel, right? Like this, with the hands here. So that's why I save that for last. I try to give myself an advantage for the last set when I'm most tired, when my pulling muscles are the most tired. So I'm gonna go back here, and now I'm gonna do as many as I can, and until I can't do anymore. All kinds of little tricks you can do, all kinds of little tweaks, modifications. Another video out there on YouTube somewhere about all the different kinds, well, not all the different kinds, some of the different kinds of pull-ups you can do. But if you start with those 3, you just go to failure, that's fine. Failure means you can't do anymore. And if you can't even do a pull-up, then just do negatives, right? Like, go up here, hands away from you, hold, fight, ugh. Do that 3 times. Then hands towards you 3 times. Then hands parallel 3 times. And just do negatives every time, and you'll eventually get strong enough to do a pull-up. If you can't do pull-ups at all, you can do a similar thing with a cable row or cable pull-down machine. Consult your local gym rat about how to do that. Finally, pushing. So regardless of whether it's the dips, I've taken the dip bar down for now, or bench press, or push-ups, with a barbell or dumbbells, you're gonna go, you're gonna take the weight. This is probably a good one to warm up on again. Just a lot of injuries happen when people aren't warmed up, so you can do maybe just the bar, right? You do the bar 15 times, just to remind your body that it's going in this plane, and kind of checking with your shoulder, checking with your elbow, checking with your body to make sure that there's nothing wrong, right? If you get a sharp stabbing pain here, or your elbow's really aching, it's time to modify it, right? Instead of doing it with a barbell, maybe dumbbells, maybe push-ups with a weird hand position, maybe dips that day. So that it's also just to kind of check in with your body. Then you're gonna do 3 working sets. You're going to put on, 25, 45, 100 pounds each side, whatever you're good at. And you're going to do somewhere in the 8 to 12 rep range. So if you go and you only manage to squeeze out 3 reps, take weight off. Find whatever weight that you can do, at least 8, but probably not more than 12. If you do more than 12, put more weight on. If you do less than 8, take some weight off. And really, until you become super conversant with this and know what weights you're capable of, you're better off writing it down. So I would go have a little notebook or on my phone, BP, short for bench press, 185 times 8, 8, 7. That would be my notation for saying bench press,
185 pounds for 8 reps in one set, 8 reps in the next set, 7 reps in the next set. And then hopefully, a couple months later, it'll be BP 185, 12, 11, 10. Right? So in that couple months later, I'm stronger. I can now do 185 pounds for 12 reps on the first set, 11 reps on the second set, 10 reps on the third set. All right, so those are the big core movements. After that, you can get to sort of the sport-specific stuff, or you can even say the vanity stuff, although in my case, being a grappler, I don't think that the strengthening the neck is vanity. So this is, for example, one of the exercises that I do here is one of the machines that I use for the neck. So that would be, I'd do a couple sets of those. I would do some crunches. My typical progression here, depending on the day, is legs straight, hands behind the head, elbows to knees for 25, bent legs, elbows to knees for 20. Again, my hands are kind of here, sort of combative, not pulling on my neck, legs straight, 15, legs bent, 10, legs straight for 5. Like, there are 1,000 different abdominal routines. That's one of them. If summer's coming, you can then work, your curls for the girls. You want to have huge traps, do shrugs. If you want to work your calves, you can do calf raises. It's all the additional stuff where you go, I do a lot of jiu-jitsu. I'm working spider guard. I need to work my grip. I'll throw a towel over the bar and I'll hang off the towel. If you've done your overall body with a squat or legs, the pull up or pull, and the bench press or push, then you can add in a few things at the end. All told, this should probably take about 50 minutes, an hour. If you're spending a whole lot longer than that, you're going too slow. And if you threw that a whole lot shorter than that, you're going too fast. So let's talk about, that's what a session might look like. I would suggest 2 whole body sessions a week to start with. Eventually, like bodybuilders get so specific. They'll go in the mornings and they'll do forearms. Then they'll go in the afternoon and they'll do biceps and triceps. And then on Thursday, they'll go in and they'll do triceps again, but not biceps. And they'll do squats, and not deadlifts. And they'll have all kinds of different progressions. And they'll have a very detailed schedule based on how quickly a muscle heals and how quickly, or what they need to work on, where they need to put more emphasis, where they need to put less emphasis. That's way beyond you at this point. A whole body workout is a great place to start. A couple of times a week is great. If you can only go once, only go once. A couple times a week is better. So you get comfortable with that basic routine. I would suggest sticking with the squat at least once a week, but maybe for the second session, you can do deadlifts. Maybe for the second session, you can do lunges. Maybe one session, you do push-ups, one session you do bench press, the next time you do dips, the next time you do push-ups to failure. One session you do pull-ups. It's hard to get away from pull-ups. Maybe once in a while you go with the cable row machine or the lat pull-down machine, just to have something different, just to stop it from getting boring. But that core, whole body, legs, push and pull is always going to be there. So in terms of knowing when to increase the weight, I think this is the last thing I'm going to talk about because I'm getting tired and I need to eat, is a double progression. So let's say I can do 185-pound bench press for 8 reps, right? Perfect. So I do 8 reps. A couple of months later, I'm at 11 reps. Another couple of weeks later, I'm now consistently doing 12 reps. At this point, when I've gone up to 12 reps, now it's time to increase the weight and drop the number. So I'm going to add another 10 pounds on each side, taking it from 185 up to 205. So I've increased the weight and I drop the number back down. Now I start at 8. 8, next week I try for 9, next week I try for 10, next week I try for 11, next week I try for 12. Oh, I'm back up to 12, awesome. Now I increase the weight and I drop the numbers back down. Same thing applies to the squat. Keep on adding weight, keep on increasing your numbers until you have to add weight. When you add weight, drop the numbers back down. This way, you'll keep on progressing. Like I said, there are a million different protocols out there, and people are gonna jump on me and go, no, 5x5 is the best. No, CrossFit is the best. No, total random body, every time you exercise is a completely different thing, and this way you keep your body shocked and off balance. There are a million different ways to do it. This is the basic way to do it. So I think that's the information that I would have liked to have had when I started. I started weightlifting. Makoto Kabayama in Toronto encouraged me to do it. He said it was useful. He had a once a week, 12 exercise, whole body program. That was a great starting point. Also met one of my first girlfriends in the gym. So thank you, Makoto. 2 benefits. Second thing was Mark Mullen, you can follow on Instagram at BJJ Mark Mullen, I think. Really took me into the gym 5 years after that and really began to break down sort of the more bodybuilding, powerlifting, barbell-based weightlifting that I've stuck with for the next 20 odd years. So thanks to Mark, thanks to Makoto, and I hope that you managed to find some of this useful in your own training.